Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Venice, your host, and here at your Entrepreneur Resources, we discover the no-fluff action steps to help you avoid all the overwhelm and all the BS out there, connecting you with the right mentors, resources, and tools, helping you every step of the way on your entrepreneurial journey. We go live here twice a week, interviewing different entrepreneurs and experts on all areas of business, so make sure to join our Facebook group and look out for the events inside your Entrepreneur Resources page. You can find all the links in the description box. Today, I have a very special guest with me. It is Michelle Barto. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Michelle is a digital web developer and entrepreneur who helps businesses grow through smart systems and inbound marketing. With nearly 20 years of experience across industries from manufacturing to fashion, she has boosted her clients' productivity by helping them determine the best way to reach their target customers through digital marketing and technology stack. In this interview with Michelle, we're going to be looking at why your customers may not stay on your website and 3 ways entrepreneurs can overcome that to grow their business and increase sales. Oh my gosh, such a powerful topic. Super excited. But before we dive in, do you mind sharing a little bit more about your business with us?
Yeah, so super excited to be here. I've always loved programming and coding and helping female entrepreneurs and just helping entrepreneurs in general. I started my first lemonade stand when I was 6 and figured out the name of the tree and decided that that was like a great name. So Ponderosa Lemonade it became, and I did really well. And I think it was at that point I kind of knew what I wanted. Marketing was where I was going someday. Currently, I help a lot of startups grow from product idea to website to fully functioning, you know, sales channel, services as well. But lately, I've been doing a lot of products, and that's been really, really fun, especially with COVID. I feel like retail has become so much more online, and companies that were hesitant to really dip their toe into investing into doing a great retail experience have appreciated the value of that online. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love the journey and a lot of different grounds, all kinds of businesses, products. I love that you mentioned in your bio that you help businesses grow through smart systems. Do you mind telling us a little bit more about why are systems so important and what exactly?
Yeah, so I feel like when you're just starting, you can really set yourself up for success if you plan through all of the steps from acquisition of a customer to how that is fulfilled. And I see so many, especially newer businesses, kind of struggle with, once I get it to the customer, what happens next? And that is really where I feel a lot of entrepreneurs really burn out, is because if you can do that a few times successfully, you have a system and you can recreate that and you can set it up so that it's automated or that other people can do it for you. I think a lot of times it's under the guise of perfectionism or under the guise of fear, but people are afraid to kind of let that go and kind of take some, risks and make some mistakes and see how that system could really work without your hands in every little step of the way. So what I like to do is I look at the full lifestyle, like how are we going to acquire the customer? How can we make sure that we're continuing that communication with them and that story of what our brand is, even if they're not a buyer right off the bat? How do we make sure that that's set up automatically so that whatever content we put out, they are reaching out and going, oh, I was interested before. I want to see how they've evolved. I want to come back. And then sometimes it's great. You've got people who are interested right away. They buy. If you're hand-holding every step of the process, it can really get overwhelming from 10 orders to 50 orders to 1,000 orders where you can't handhold the process. And if you haven't set up the time to make sure you have a system, it's really hard to hand it off to somebody else and let your business grow. You see that all the time with the pandemic, people who are like, okay, I've got this great idea, and they're so tired and they're working 80 hours, a week, and it's not sustainable. So the minute you can kind of get enough bandwidth to make sure those systems are in place, or even designing it from the start is what I think is ideal. You are really setting yourself up on solid ground for a long-term viable business. When I started 20 years ago, I made all of those mistakes. So it's kind of been nice to say, nope, you don't have to do it that way. Here's all the things that I wish I had listened to people when I was first starting out.
Yeah, I love that. So Do you mind giving us one system that we could implement right now? Like any entrepreneurs that's listening right now, how could they implement, take that one step and just start them into their business if they haven't already?
So I think email marketing is the most powerful thing you can do right now. Facebook has kind of got some iffy ethical things, and a lot of companies are moving away from Instagram and things like that. So I think as that, we've been hearing about that for years, but as that becomes more to the forefront, having that solid email list is really important. And a great way to do that is by listening to your customer, looking at what they want. I was really inspired by the girls who started the company Away, the suitcase company is they did their market research and then they went to every single person who they thought might be interested and said, if you sign up for our list, you get 25% off the first shipment when it comes. They did a really brilliant job with that because they engaged and then they told the story as they went along, and it was a way to reach a lot of people. Where if you set up a system for continuous email communication with your customers, even if they join 2 months after you put that out, they go through the same sequence. They hear your story. People love the stories. They love feeling connected with the brand, and it helps them understand why they should care and why they should engage with your brand. So I think that setting up an email nurture sequence is one of the best things that you can do. And if you go, well, I don't have enough of a list, take the time, do a survey, find 10 people who you think are your ideal customer, and see what say. Basically, you can just call them or talk to them. If your friends and family, it's a great place to start too, and say, what would it take for you to give me your email address to market to? And if they're people you know well enough, they'll be pretty candid and they'll say, well, you can say, would you do it for 25% off? Would you do it for an additional bonus to the product? And getting really honest feedback can be very helpful. And I think sometimes when we set those up with friends and family, we get, oh, of course I'd sign up for your newsletter. But I think asking a really specific question, which is, what would it take for you to sign up for my list, is a way to get that answer for that product, for that freebie, and then building on that nurture sequence. So if you can have a great opt-in that people really want, and if you can nurture them, you've gotten so far through having repeat customers, and really building that solid footing for your brand. And then, of course, you want to keep nurturing them as they go along, but that's probably 2 years worth of hard work that can be distilled into a month if you can just get that going.
That's so incredible. I love that. I feel like I have to ask you to come back onto the show and talk more about email
Oh,
marketing and systems. I love these
yeah,
tips.
anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's talk more about the topic that we're going to discuss today, which is what you see entrepreneurs do on their website that are, like kind of making customers not want to stay. I know that this is a big one because, a lot of people, they go out there, they create websites on Squarespace or WordPress. It doesn't really matter what platform it is. It can be quite challenging to know exactly how to stand out, but at the same time be clear, but also, like make sure that people know what you have to offer and what you can do different from anyone else. So I love this topic and I'm excited to hear what you have to share. Just go ahead and let us know what reasons why customers might not stay on the website.
So I think the best real estate that you have on a website is that first screen that customers click on. Most customers are accessing websites from mobile. So when we design a site, we always make sure that it's mobile first, but it's also knowing your demographic. So if you're marketing to an older demographic, you want to make sure that not only is it mobile first, but that it also really looks good on a large screen. Companies like insurance companies and things like that, people tend to be a little bit older. They tend to be accessing it from a desktop, and they tend to be using it on a really wide format screen. So I think number one is making sure you've optimized for mobile, number one, but then also making sure that it looks good on a large screen. That can be kind of hard to do with a Squarespace template. So you just want to make sure if you're building it yourself, or if you have a designer do it for you, that you really look at it on all different sizes of screens. And if there are a few Squarespace templates that I can think of that adapt really well, but I mean, you can easily mess it up by adding too large of a photo or something in that first section. So testing for viewability, like number one thing, because it can look good on your laptop, but it might not look good on your phone, and it might not look good on, somebody's 18-inch monitor. Number one. And then
Yeah.
in that first
Would you
impression,
sorry,
go ahead.
would you Yeah. Would you recommend people use WordPress then? Or, like if someone doesn't have a website right now, like how would you recommend they start having, creating that website? Should they use, I don't even know, there's so many platforms out there.
Yeah. I haven't had a ton of luck with Wix. I know some people really like it, but my three favorites are WordPress, Squarespace, and Shopify, just depending on what kind of
Hmm.
business you're starting. If you're a service-based
Hmm.
business in general, I would highly recommend you go with Squarespace. It's pretty adaptable and changeable, and it doesn't break. WordPress is pretty great if you have the idea that maybe you want to add membership down the road, or you want to offer a more complicated interaction with your customer. I think that you can't go wrong with WordPress. The downside of WordPress is because there's so many plugins available, it
Hmm.
breaks a lot. So you really want to make sure
Hmm.
that either you are good at fixing it or you've got a dedicated person who kind of pop in and help you at least every couple weeks. Um, WordPress does a pretty major software update, I feel like at least every other month, and lately it's been more often. So you can have a beautiful website and then a week later go, oh no, what happened? So Squarespace is pretty robust. It doesn't break as much. It just requires a little more testing on the front end and image size adjustment. Um, and then Shopify is what I recommend for anyone who's selling more than 5 to 10 products, and if they've got a higher price point, especially if you are selling, 2 or 3 things, then Squarespace is great, but you kind of run into fulfillment issues, and Shopify is really designed very well to handle shipping and fulfillment and things like that. So that would be kind of how I break it down. Are you a service business? Go
Yeah.
Squarespace. Are you looking for membership? Go, or even Kajabi, but I would say WordPress. And then if you're looking for that third option of you want to do retail and you're committed to that and you really want to provide a good fulfillment experience, then I would do Shopify.
I agree. I love those tips. You broke it down so clearly. And from my own experience as well, I've used all of those platforms. If you want to be optimized for SEO, if you have blog, because WordPress is definitely one that is very SEO friendly. And
Mm-hmm.
although it takes a lot, there's a huge learning curve, and it
Yeah,
can be of just getting a bunch of plugins and then you're like, wait a second, my website's not working anymore because all my plugins are contradicting each other,
right.
and it will also slow down your website, so make sure not to get too many plugins as well. But I love the way that you broke those down.
Yeah.
So yeah, what other mistakes have you seen entrepreneurs make when it comes to their websites?
I think people really want to do pretty um, video. And I think that a video is really powerful and is a great way to do it. However, make sure your video is meaningful to your customer. And it should
Mm.
also have people in it, because I think I see a lot of times people will do this beautiful nature scene or rolling hills or some kind of other movement and it looks great. People really gravitate towards people. So whether you choose an image of a um, a video, or if you choose just a static image, it really ought to have at least 1 or 2 people, and it should have people in it that the person can see themselves being. So if you sell, you know, like protein powder or something like that, you'd want to put in, either if you're marketing towards women, you'd want to make sure you have a woman who looks fit, or if you're marketing towards men, you'd want to make sure you have a man who looks fit, just so that the person in a nanosecond can look and go, okay, this product's for me. People make a decision that quickly. So I think either whether you choose a video, which I love if you have that option, or if you choose a static image, you want to make sure that you pick somebody that looks like somebody. And then again, if you're providing a service, you probably want to provide a picture of yourself. And my favorite ones that I've seen that convert really well are a picture of the person who's providing the service helping somebody who looks like their average customer. Those are really, really great, because again, it's showing who you are, how you can help somebody like them, people leave so quickly. And then the last thing I think that's really important is making sure that your menu items are really specific and that they're not like cute. Like sometimes you'll see in that navigation, people will put our story, and unless it's your wedding website, I would never put our story. I'd put about, because people are automatically looking for about, right? Or if you're selling jewelry, you'd want to make sure that you put, necklaces, bracelets, rings as their own categories, not just shop drop down. Um, Another example is my team did a website for a company that protects your iPhone. So we had coverage, how it works, things that people would ask, and not so much, what is it, which you think would be like the standard thing, but people are really looking for that story of how they can engage with your website. So when you design those navigation things, think of somebody who has never encountered your site before. What questions are they going to ask? Like, who, what, where, why, when, how, those basics of writing. Just look at that navigation with that in mind: who, what, where, when, why, how, and really focus on the how that person would answer that. And again, to stay away from the cutesy nicknames, because it also hurts your SEO.
Yes, yes. Gosh, I love these nuggets. I think they're incredible. Coming back to the point about photos and videos, I love that you mentioned, your customers should be able to put themselves in the shoes of the person that they see inside the photo or video, because I think that's so powerful. How would you say or suggest people do that? Like, for example, how would you suggest people go and find these photos or videos? Should they do photo shoots and video shoots, or should they use stock images? What's your take on that?
Well, in a perfect world, you would do a photo shoot and video shoot, but that's not an option for everyone starting out. So there's a lot of great stock resources that I like. I use Hotstock if you're marketing towards women specifically. I have a subscription to Adobe Stock, and it's not super expensive, and their images I think used to be kind of boring, and I think they've gotten a lot better. And so you've got a lot more options now. So I think stock, and I know a lot of people like Unsplash. I've just had too many issues with licensing with Unsplash, with different people. We have never used Unsplash, but people I know who've used it have come with horror stories of how it wasn't licensed properly or whatever. So I always just pay for my stock photography, either through Adobe Stock or Hotstock, or there's a couple other ones that I like, but those are my two probably places that I start.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard bad things, not bad things per se, on Splash as well. People, like coming to you, it's like, no, you don't have the right to use this image I have. Like,
Right.
so always
Yeah.
be careful. I guess that's the most important thing. And then you brought up the great point about the menu bar. I think that is a huge. I'm completely guilty of this. When I first started my website, I was like, yes, how do I make this cute and smart and, make it stand out from everyone else? And then instead of using about or contact us, I'm like, all these like fluffy words.
Right.
How many menu items do you think would be ideal for?
So, I mean, I would do 3 to 5, maximum 5. 3 if you can get away with it, because people will go less, if people, but it just depends on what you're selling. If you're selling a service, I probably go with 3, because people are then trying to learn about you and what you do. If you're selling products, I would list as many categories for products as there are, but not more than like 5 of them, because I think that just gets cluttered at that point. Yeah.
And you can also always do sub menus, right? Like subcategories.
Right, exactly. So I think go super top level, and then you can kind of go down from there. The way I look at it is too, is like, it's like a map. And if you want if you pulled up a map and it said directions to your dreams or follow your heart, like that's not going to help you if you're looking for north or south or east or west or where the freeway is. So that's how I design navigation, is kind of just keeping in mind that it is a map for people, and as much fun as it is to use, like, save those wonderful creative words for further down the page once people get engaged, because what happens is people get pulled in, they look at where they want to go, and then they kind of fall in love with your brand and your words. But that's later, maybe 2 or 3 screens down.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, thank you for sharing that. So if an entrepreneur is thinking about, okay, I need to improve my website, or I'm thinking about starting my website today, what's that right off the bat?
So one is set up your email client first. Like, don't get your domain and then set up your email client, and then sync that to whatever website platform you choose. And then from there, go do your research, and really, like, I would really talking to people, and it's hard we have not been able to do face-to-face, but if you can do even a Zoom, you get so much more out of what people think, and just test it out on 10 different people to get what they're looking for, to get what they want in that freebie to get what they want to sign them up for the list. I wouldn't make it too long of a survey because you can kind of tell what people want. If you are passionate about food and you have a food brand, like you probably are in that space because you're super into it anyway. So you know what people like. What you don't know is what's going to make someone buy from you, and that's where you spend the time, is figuring out what's enticing to people, what's their motivation for doing so. And then from there, going on the website and kind of thinking you're leading them on this journey of what is your product and what your vision is, and use as few words as possible. So if you're selling, I don't know, ice cream, you would just put, ice cream favorites or sorbet or frozen yogurt. What kind of categories can you put up that would help people solve their problems but make it easy to buy? I always think that if people can't get to a purchase within one click, you've probably lost the sale. Maybe you're really have a beautiful site, maybe people are already in love with your brand, so that wouldn't be true. But in general, you have about one click. So if they come to your site and they say ice cream, they can click on the picture of the ice cream that they're looking for, buy now. Like that, it needs to be that easy for them to get through the process.
Yeah, absolutely. I love these. I'm just really curious, and I want to ask this question because I feel like someone in the audience would probably be thinking the same thing. Do you recommend brands and companies and businesses? Do you recommend that everyone should have a blog? Because I know this is a big one, because there are bloggers out there that really just blog, and that's great. But then for service providers like shops or users, do you think it's important to have a blog to kind of help them optimize their and maximize their reach?
If you have the resources, that would be the third place I would put your resources. Is number one, email. Number two, getting your website to really click through. With whatever resources you have left over, I would put it into blogging. I know people want to go the Instagram route, and I think that you can do that, and you should do that. But I think in terms of really getting that visibility early on and really getting people ways to find it, there's nothing better than a blog. Because if you think about the last thing that if you looked up something on Pinterest, all of those were from blogs. As you have more time to put into social media, you can put that in there and just say, great, here's all this content, and build a blog. If you build content on Pinterest around the blog content, or on Instagram, but basically you already have a place for people to go that isn't just your main site. So it's really sharing the wealth in terms of extra links and SEO and just more ways for visibility. And you really help people who, to do that kind of marketing for you. If they love what they see, they're going to put it on Pinterest. They're going to put it on Instagram. They're going to start building that system again for you, so you're not doing all the work all the time. You've built the email, you've built the site, you have it set up so that you blog once a week or whatever. There's a system to do that, to make sure that content goes out regularly as well. But once you do that, that's the part where you're really able to hand stuff off. You can once you're at that point, you can hire someone fairly inexpensively to manage the Pinterest and the Instagram based on the content you already have. That works so well, because initially I think only you can really write those blogs and put that voice. But then once you kind of give somebody an example, then you can go get help with a copywriter, and you are basically setting the template so that you can get more hands to grow your brand for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love this. I feel like you just dropped so many value bombs, and at the same time I want to ask more questions, but we do have to do you mind sharing your freebie for us? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so my freebie is just a short ebook that I wrote called Marketing, Money, and Mindset. And it talks about, I think a lot of times when you go into marketing, it can either come off very cheesy or it can come off as disingenuous. And I think so much of really good marketing is heartfelt, and it's because you're providing value to people. So when you're starting out, I think it's really important to kind of sit down with yourself and say, this is why I'm doing this, and just jot it down through the book that I made. This is why it's important. This is what I want everyone to know. You can keep that thread in through your marketing. I've got a client who's kind of a large industrial company, and you'd think it'd be kind of hard to come up with, who they are on social media and do marketing for them. But their goals really are service, safety, community, growing knowledge in their industry. And so it's kind of great to pull out those, 3 to 5 little nuggets that are important to them and keep that through in their marketing. And also it just makes it more fun, because then you're excited about, the advances that they're making there, and their marketing is better. Marketing is better when you're having fun. So I think keeping those reasons front and center and getting your mindset around this is something that people need will help you kind of get through those hard times as an entrepreneur, and also just make it more enjoyable.
Yeah, perfect. That sounds great. I'll go and download it myself too. So thank you so much for sharing. And before I let you go, do you mind sharing where people can find you online?
Yeah, so Instagram, you can find me at creative_launch. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me at Barto6. You can find me on LinkedIn at Michelle Barto. And you can find me on my website at letsgetlaunch.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'll drop every box in the show notes, so make sure to go check them out. Thank you so much again for being on your Entrepreneur Resources show. I know that I've taken a lot of notes. I know that a lot of people are probably like mind blown right now. So if you need the notes from this episode, make sure to check the show notes. We have our live interview twice a week, so make sure to stay and join our community. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll chat with you very soon, and have a great rest of your day.